Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello, my name is Michelia Adha Darsono. I'm from English Literature A 2018. I'm going to do a review of what I've learned for half of semester. For introduction, the topics that I'll bring are from Old English to Revolution and Restoration era. The first one is Old English. The Anglo-Saxon period is considered to have a strong oral storytelling tradition. The Anglo-Saxons conquered England about 450 before the Norman invasion in 1066. The Germanic people, known as the Angles, the Saxons, and the Jutes, who had successfully conquered the former Roman colony of Britain, in the 5th and 6th centuries, carried with them their language, their paganism, and their distinctive burial customs. Christianity was the religion of the British, and it was suppressed at the beginning of the Anglo-Saxon conquest. But in the years to come, these Germanic tribes have converted to it. Christian values became popular in Anglo-Saxon literature, therefore Christianity helped literature to spread. The characteristics of literary works. The first one is heroic poems, war, conquest, and bravery. It describes men's struggles against environment and life's difficulties. All of the authors are anonymous. There's not much oral poetry that survive. The central principle is alliteration. It expresses religious faith and gives moral instruction through literature. The famous work is Beowulf. The next one is Middle Ages or medieval period. In the history of Europe, it lasted from the 5th to the 15th century. It began with the fall of the Western Roman Empire and merged into the Renaissance and the Age of Discovery. During this era, the Catholic Church became the most dominant and powerful institution in Europe, influencing the monarchs. All political policies and state legislation were not made based on democracy and parliament like in the days of the Roman Empire. This decision was taken by the Church Council. Not every individual has the right to argue because at the time, those who had the right to issue opinions were only the Catholic religious experts. The Pope was the supreme authority while there was an emperor who was second in the command. For example, Charlemagne served as the Roman emperor after being elevated to the position by Pope Leo III. The church became powerful in many aspects. The people were required to pay tithe to the church, while there was exemption of the church from taxation. The church went to the levels of owning armies as well as cities, in addition to playing a great role in the regulation of state affairs. The characteristics of literary works in this era is the first one, chivalry, deals with knights and their code of honor, which included being of service, being honest, and helping those less fortunate or poor. And then the second one is magic. This came in many forms, especially in what we consider today as supernatural. For example, making people invisible or making himself appear out of thin air like Merlin in Arthurian legends. Third is love. A knight's love for a woman knew no bounds. He would face a dragon or the strongest knight to win the favor of the woman he loved or to save her. In this era, oral tradition still continued. The literary works mostly talk about Christianity and knights. Also, there was drama. The drama was used as a spiritual medium in explaining sermons in church. For major works, there are uh, Jeffrey's Chaucer's, Can- Canterbury Tales, and Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. The next one, there's Renaissance and Reformation era. The term Renaissance means rebirth, and in this context, it refers to bring back to life the culture of classical Greece and Rome. Yet, in striving to revive the past, the people of the Renaissance created something new. The contributions made during this period led to innovative styles of art and literature. They also led to new values, such as the importance of the individual from religion and afterlife, which is called as humanism. European scholars began to open up to ideas from ancient Greece and the Middle East, as well as from the new schools of thought such as humanism, or we can call it humanities, such as literature, history, and philosophy, that was influenced by classical ideas. This has resulted in the entry of thoughts and perspective on new life that are different from those taught by the Catholic Church. The causes of the Reformation, for example, are how Renaissance's values of humanism and secularism led people to question the church. At the same time, printing press helped to spread ideas critical of the church. So that's why how people start to question the church at that time. And then the characteristics of the literary works in this era is Renaissance poetry reflected the views, beliefs, and ideas of the European people during this time period, like education, human development, and emotion in present time were popular topics that poets focused on, as well as love and passion. The common form of poetry in this era was sonnets. And for example, the major works in this era is William Shakespeare's, such as Romeo and Juliet, Hamlet, Macbeth, etc. Then the last one is Revolution and Restoration. This era, the era from 1620 to 1690 is referred to as the Restoration Age because the monarchy was restored to the England. In 1960, Charles II was brought to the throne, and the return of Charles II brought a new age both in life and in literature. There have been many civil wars, and the return of the monarchy left many issues unresolved in terms of the king's power versus the parliament. Most of England's literary works are dominated by the church, and people were interested in looking forward to whether harmony and balance can be established in society. And during this era, all institutions that were closed in the Puritanical movement were restored. The theaters were reopened, clubs and coffee houses were also formed. These houses have been the centers of political discussion, and then this era is known as Age of Reason or Enlightenment. It is a philosophical movement that emphasized reason, rules, and logic. The characteristics of literary works. Satire was often used in this era as a weapon in various political and religious controversies. Most writers used irony and exaggeration in order to ridicule or poke fun at human faults and foolishness in order to correct human behavior. Literacy has expanded to include the middle classes and even some of the poor. Also, the novel became well known than poetry, and then the popular authors and their masterpiece are John Milton's Paradise Lost and Jonathan Swift's Gulliver's Travel. We have reached the end of the presentation. That's all from me. Thank you very much.